Do you always feel like you can be your full self, like your full, authentic expression? Recently, I was having breakfast with a woman who had just taken the energetic frequency archetype quiz. And she was sharing with me, like, Erica, I was struggling because I wanted to put this, but then I wanted to put that, but this is normally how I show up, but really this is who I am. And so there was a lot of thinking and analyzing going on here. And that's the point. So this is a framework that I created, and the quiz helps to identify who you naturally are, right? Like your core essence, and then who you've adapted into being because of certain things from life, whether it's certain things that happen to us in childhood or certain ways we've been wounded in adulthood, and we've had to adapt and sometimes create an aspect of ourselves that is part of us. It supports our core, but it's not our natural expression. So I'll just quickly break these down, but your core archetype, right? This is your primary. This is, I like to call it like your soul essence, your soul blueprint. This is who you naturally are. If no one was telling you how to be, if you didn't have to worry about somebody judging you and you could just full on be you, this is what it would look like. And then your secondary, this can be how you connect, relate, communicate with the world, how you're energetically expressing your core, right? Your primary. And it can also be protective. It could be coming from a wound. So you've adapted this part of yourself. And then there's how you show up when you're under stress, your nervous system stress pattern. So when I was growing up, first of all, I'm the youngest of three. My brother is 16 years older. My sister's 12 years older. So I'm the baby. And I was a full of life kind of kid. I loved play. I love learning. Like I used to have a chalkboard and a bunch of books, and I used to play teacher. I used to pretend I was the teacher. But more often, I was riding my bike, I was roller skating, I was in theater. I loved play. Wasn't amazing in school, I will add. And then I loved adventure. I love like not knowing, like the exciting spontaneity of things. And then when I was 16, I got pregnant. I guess that goes along with my spontaneous risk taking nature, huh? And when that happened, my core essence went out the window because being that risk taker, being that fun, lighthearted, full of life girl wasn't going to support me in taking care of my daughter. And I had a ton of help from my dad. My parents weren't a super fan of me getting pregnant at 16. We'll say that, especially coming from a Hispanic background. Well, it can be common. I'm not going to say accepted, but common in Hispanic culture. Let's say at younger ages. I'm not going to say teenage ages, but it was something that my parents weren't thrilled about. They didn't want to condone it. And so they weren't about having the father in the full picture, although the father was a teenager himself, trying to figure out his life. So here I am, and my mom was sick. She had a rare brain disease that had her in a wheelchair. So it was me, my dad, and my baby. And so I had to do all the things to change my life around. I graduated early from high school. I started college when all my friends were still in high school. I was going to high school full time. I was working full time, and I had my daughter. And while all my friends were going out and having fun, I was taking care of a baby. That's what happens when you get pregnant at 16. So there were a lot of adapted parts of me that woke up and that had to take over. I had to be responsible. And not only did I have to be responsible and provide stability and consistency for my daughter, the wounded part of me, the part of me that now didn't feel good enough, that, it took a part of my identity that made me feel some type of shame and guilt. And that then adapted this other primary archetype, the one that wanted to be the smart one, the one that wanted to show everybody, hey, I'm smart. I didn't mess up. I got this. And that became a very strong essence to my beingness in life. So there's a difference between who you naturally are and who you've had to adapt to be, or what got developed along the way from wounds, from protectiveness, and also from just stress, right? Having to react and respond to stress. So my primary, which is full of life and energy, had to take a back seat. And my secondary, which is all about seeing patterns, recognizing patterns, asking tons of questions. I'm super curious. I want to understand. I think super deeply. I want to figure it out. And I can't even take action before I understand. So my primary and secondary are very intertwined. But my stress pattern needs certainty, and it can rear its head up when I'm under stress and try to take control and try to overmanage and try to figure everything out because it wants to feel safe, especially as you're trying to create safety for a young one. And what I want to share with you is that during all this, I met my husband at the time. He's my ex-husband now, but I met my husband during the adapted part of me. And so even though my ex got to see, I mean, being together for 25 years in combination of dating and being married, I'm sure my core came out for sure, for sure. But he also got a lot of my nervous system stress pattern and adaptive personality that came online. So I met him at a time that I wasn't feeling safe. I wasn't able to be my full authentic self. And that was the version that started that relationship. So we want to be careful, because the parts of us that are online in any given situation also chooses what it gets into. It could choose a job that maybe isn't really aligned with our true self, that we then end up hating. How many people do you know who chose a career path or a job because it was the safe thing to do, because they were guaranteed a certain amount of money or respect? And they might have had the skills and the strength to do that particular job, be successful in that career, but doesn't mean it was really aligned with them. So what ends up happening? You're not fulfilled. You're miserable. You're just doing it to get through it. And that can happen to us in our work life and in our love life. And I personally have absolutely no regrets. I also believe that you meet people and get into certain situations that are really great for the time and they're really supportive of your growth. And sometimes they force things to be more clear that maybe you've pushed down and suppressed. And so now this thing, this job, this person is like, I'm going to just be in your face and you're going to feel this discontent until you face it and realize, wait a minute, I can't live anymore like this. Like something's not right. And I'm not truly aligned with my true core essence. So, in no way I regret who I had to become as a young mom. I mean, she saved me. That part, that aspect of me saved me. And helped me to build a life, helped me to have success in other areas. Because if I would have just stayed in that core essence alone, I don't know if I'd get a whole lot of stuff done. So I'm so grateful to have the adaptive parts. But also, I was never meant to stay in there. I was never meant to live. I've I had jobs in my life that I attracted purely from my stress response. And I had to have that part of me, that essence, like who comes out when I'm under stress, be the full part of how I show up in work for many years. That's exhausting. Hence why I ended up having a ton of health issues and things that doctors couldn't explain. What's going on here? Autoimmune this and thyroid issues and adrenal issues. And yes, if you think that your body is just going through things, I'm going to say think again. Your body is just communicating where something else isn't right, something else isn't aligned. And the more you ignore it, the more you suppress it, the more then the body starts saying, yo, hey, so I'm going to start screaming at you in a minute. I'm going to make you stop and pay attention. And I'm glad I did. Because now my core gets to be fully online. And my secondary is also fully expressed and is actually the way in which my primary archetype communicates. So I get to be my alive, full, vivacious self. And my secondary helps me to communicate whatever I need to communicate. So, who have you had to become to survive that maybe no longer feels like you? Are you being rewarded for a version of you that your soul has maybe outgrown? Do people around you know your core essence or just your adaptation? So this is exactly why I created the energetic frequency archetype system, and you can take the quiz for free and find out what is your core. What is the archetype that's secondary? So it's one that is helping to support your primary archetype. What is the area of growth for you? What's your growth edge opportunity? Because a lot of times, as we're trying to get into something else, we're trying to break the next level, get into the break barriers, right? We have to get into a new identity because what we've created who we are now has created the life around us. So in order to get to that next level, that next chapter, the next phase, a new identity has to emerge. So your growth edge archetype is going to support you in doing that. And then who shows up when you're stressed? And then how do you take all this information and use it to support you in having better communication, in helping yourself to reach these goals that you have for yourself, in helping yourself to feel like you're you? If you've gotten really far away from who you think you are, who you believe yourself to be. So if you feel like someone needs to hear this, if you know someone who maybe they're stressed out, maybe they're exhausted, maybe they're just like on this hamster wheel and you see the pattern, right? But they don't see the pattern. Or you know someone who is trying to break this barrier and get to the next level, share this message with them and or share the quiz. And follow me for more content on how to be the best version of you, how to make decisions from a place of clarity, from a place of your core essence, so that you can fully express yourself and be online and feel more fulfillment in your career and in your love life.